Now let's cover the allows. How strange were you as a child?
Well, you'd have to ask other people on that. I always seem to be, you know, growing up in, in fact, I think that's my house over there. This is
somewhere in the
Burbank,
San Fernando Valley?
Yeah, I swear to God, I think that's my house over there. You know, growing up, there was always a strong sense of categorization. Not just with me. I mean, you know, you must know. People, you know, this guy's good at sports, this guy's, and this guy is weird, you know. This guy, we don't know about. You know, I think the problem is when you don't fit into a category early on, you know, that's when you get that thing in a way. And there's this very strong sense of categorization that seems to go on in life. And it's not something that I ever thought or anybody ever thinks. It's just you're kind of forced into that. I was put in that box, which on one hand was negative, on the other hand really affords you the ability to act however you want. There's a bit of freedom. I think that that's why I've loved
You got no reputation to blow.
Well, exactly. When people consider you to be a certain thing, it's sad in a way because it's like they're not seeing you for who you are. On the other side, you have open opportunities to hang from the ceiling or, you know, dress however you want, you know, do Danny Thomas spit takes, you know, with your own blood. I remember doing that once. You know, without people, you know, people just kind of go, that's okay. You know, if anybody else did it, it would be out of context in a way. So there was a little bit of a sense of freedom with that, even though there's a sadness about categorization with people too, which isn't really right. But I got into it. I worked it for whatever it was worth, I guess.
You know, this seems so obvious, whether it's Pee-wee's Big Adventure, whether it's Edward Scissorhands living in a Gothic castle, they try to bring him back to some bland suburban area. Seems like things are going okay, but then ultimately he can't fit in and he flees back. Whatever it is, I mean, these, to some extent, these guys are projections of you, right?
From Pee-wee on, all the characters are characters I identify with and are very personal to me, even though they're in the context of a studio thing. And you know, movies I find to be too hard to do unless you can personalize them. I mean, I've never felt incredibly technically proficient and technically like I could, sure, I'll do a Western, you know, like, and go out and do a great Western or anything.
I don't see you as John Ford.
No, I can't. No, I mean, it would be really a bad movie. And so everything has meant something to me. So you know, you personalize everything, and even though it's not necessarily direct, there are themes and issues in everything. See, people, the movies look so ridiculous and look so absurd and cartoony that some of that gets lost a little bit sometimes. But for me, they mean quite a lot, you know.
Is childhood where you feel safe? Even if it's a twisted, you know, humorous, exaggerated childhood?
I've always responded, you know, there's that whole dynamic and that whole thing that I've heard people say, which I actually don't like. That whole thing about the child within, I've always found to be kind of stunted and retarded in a way, in the sense of, well, the point being, people say that sometimes as a way to, I find that negative. I find that connotation negative because, you know, you don't want to remain in this little world in a way because, you know, you want to experience everything in a way, and there's things as an adult which you can do and want to do that you don't do as a child. And I think it has more to do with maintaining. I remember when, you know, I like to draw, and everybody when they're young can draw. And what happens is that it seems to get beaten out of people. It's like, at what point does that change? You know, what point do people say, oh, I can't draw and stuff? And I think that it's the culture, and people go, you know, oh, you got to learn how to draw, and you got to learn the correct way to do things. And I find that what you want to do is just maintain a vision of the world where everything is still interesting and not getting. So if that aspect of you remains, which is it's there when you're young, then definitely. But I don't want to, ride on swing sets and go, play in the.
But maybe for a while.
Well,
I mean, that's what Pee Wee did.
Yeah, well, that was good for that. He was good in that, and he was interested in that, and that's his passion was 100% for that.
I can watch Pee Wee Herman with my 5-year-old, and he's laughing his little butt off, and I think it's funny too, sometimes for the same reasons, sometimes for different reasons, but that's something which a parent watches with his child, at least this parent, not as an obligation, but I want to watch it too.
Absolutely. See, I think people forget that there is a danger. I mean, I grew up with stuff, I feel very lucky I didn't grow up in the Sesame Street era, because I felt very lucky to have dangerous material to go through when you're young, There's something about when characters, it's like I remember certain clowns that, it's like, whoa, who knows what's going on when the camera gets turned off. But there is it's like, again, it's like images of fairy tales that are quite horrible. People forget that in a way, But there's something that I think children can take, and people forget that, They forget that the kids are really, I think, like to see wild stuff, and that's why Pee-wee doesn't talk down to anybody, It's not like, it's really treating them on a surreal, bizarre, talking at them level, which is great.
How did you and Paul Reubens work together? How much of that was his vision? I know Phil Hartman co-wrote the script also.
Yeah. It was, the character had been created. In fact, I'd seen the show somewhere, and so it was just a character that I just liked and responded to, and that's why I felt very lucky. First movie, here's a script, here's a character, and I completely loved it from the beginning and felt that I could offer something to it.
He wakes up, he's got all these Rube Goldberg contraptions to get him started, to cook his breakfast.
He's a modern guy.
Yeah.
There's just something wonderful about characters that are 100% passionate and about what they're passionate about, and they're outside the norm. They're outside what I just love those kind of characters.
Vincent Price has been a lifelong hero of yours. In fact, I read that you're working on a documentary about him.
Yeah, again, if there was an image that helped me through a life, it was him in those movies, the Edgar Allan Poe things. For some reason, I just had a direct, I could watch those and as in the same way that you understand fairy tales or don't understand it and get a visceral, emotional response to something, being plagued by abstract demons, being overly sensitive, the abstractions of life that he would go through, and sort of the grand dark catharsis that it just always helped me, and I could always relate to it on some deep level in a way. And so then I wrote this little film that was going to be a children's book, actually, called Vincent, which was basically about that. And so he was really the first person that I met, too, and turned out to be a wonderful person. It's like those kind of things really shape your life. If the guy had turned out to be like, get away from me, get out of here, kid, you're bothering me, kind of a thing, it would have been devastating. But he turned out to be an incredible person and somebody who's interested in lots of things. And again, it gives you hope for the future in your life and in movies and stuff to grow and do different things and all. So he's been kind of inspirational that way.
So what a great thing for you to be able to cast him in Edward Scissorhands.